I worked at the Shack. We sold it. Yeah.
Of course you did.
Yeah, I did. I worked at the Radio Shack.
You knew all things electric.
We were a photo lab too, so we did both. We had a photo lab and we were a Radio Shack.
Did you see any pictures of salve on the photo lab when you were working in the photo lab?
Buddy, I got some stories there that I could never tell on air. Listen. Yeah, I mean, you hear people talk about...
So you worked at Long John Silver's and Radio Shack.
I did, yeah.
I mean, you probably worked a lifetime just in those two jobs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen, yeah, I mean, you talk about people like saying, I just need some bleach for my eyes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The stuff people will take pictures of and then take it somewhere to print them.
And you're like, you realize we have to develop this, right?
One guy comes in on a Sunday afternoon. And he's got 2 rolls of film, right? And he says...
This is going bad.
He says to me, he was
in a trench coat.
He said, hey, buddy. He was in a cowboy hat.
Stop.
No, he was. So Earl comes in. I don't know what his name was. Oh. So Earl comes in.
Earl
and he's got
so
he's got a cowboy hat. And he walked around the store for a little bit. Right?
Oh.
And I'm behind the thing, and I'm like, we weren't busy at all, right? So I was like going to go home early. I'm like, I'm shutting this stuff down and leaving. I'd done like 2 rolls of film all day. And so to explain to you a little bit about how it works, like the process behind it, you have a machine that you put the negatives in, right? It's process C41, and it runs the negatives through, and it whatever the hell it does to it. It comes out. It runs it through developer.
I mean, you could just lie because I have no idea.
It runs it through developer first,
okay,
and then a fixer, and then a stabilizer. That allows you to actually bring it out into the light, right? And that's just so you can look at your negatives, right? There they are.
Oh.
So then you take those said negatives and you put them in the machine that prints them, and then you print them based on, if you're really trying to be particular with it, you do it manually, and you look and see how dark it is, and you do like a plus 1, 2, 3, 4 or a minus 1, 2, 3, 4 to adjust lighting and stuff so the picture comes out. And you can also adjust the colors. You can look at that and say, yeah, that's a little too cyan. So you do like a -1 cyan and all this stuff. Now, you can also just hit the button and let it print them, and it'll do it automatically. It never does it as good automatically. Well, it didn't then. So after you put the negatives in the machine and you print them, so it's this big roll of photo paper, right, that's in there. And you have a container for each. You have a container for matte and a container for glossy.
Okay, I got you there.
Right?
Okay. Yes.
So depending on what they're asking
glossy.
for, most people just took the glossy.
Like flossy.
Like flossy. So you stick that in there, right? And so it runs the paper through.
Yes.
And so as it's printing the pictures, it's putting that on the paper, right? And it's running it through the same thing. Developer, fixer, and stabilizer, right? So the negatives go through, you're printing them.
I think you're overqualified for this job because I guarantee you that Cooter, who also worked with you, is like, I'm hitting the manual button, taking myself home. Where's my salve in a box?
I like to know how stuff works, so I'm just weird that way.
I know I like this.
And I used to develop my own film at one point in time, too. Anyway, it's all I can do. That and this.
Did you invent the internet?
I did.
Oh,
Al Gore and I.
No, Al had nothing to do with it. Don't give him any credit.
He invented porn. So
I think you're coming to something with this guy. This is why this story's developing.
So waka waka. So anyway, different machines are different, right? So like the machines do different things to the pictures after they're done, right? But the one thing that's the common thing is it has to go through a drying system, right?
Okay.
It's like a hair dryer. That's all it is, right? And what it does is 2 things. One, it gets the excess stabilizer off of it, and also dries it so you can actually hold it,
touch it, so it won't. Yes. Okay.
So
I got you. This makes sense.
Some of the older
don't touch my Polaroids.
Right. So some of the older ones would just dry them, and then it goes up to the top, and it has a little razor that just chop, stacks them up, and then it puts them in like a little plastic holder.
Okay.
And like the plastic holder is attached, like it's like you don't take that off, so it just holds them in place. So if you're doing multiple rolls of film, for each roll you do, you just kind of hang them up, so you know this roll goes with this one because it's the first in the line.
Yes.
So
yes,
process of elimination. So this particular machine was an upgraded machine. So once it went through the paper, after you printed the negatives, once it went through the paper portion, through the developer, the fixer, and then the stabilizer, and it went through the drying part, as it's going through the drying part, there was a glass in the back, so you could actually look at the pictures as they're coming through. So if there's a problem, you could kill it, and so you don't waste paper. And you could say, okay, kill this, I'm going to print them again, right? So like if you look and it's like a big orange whatever through it, that meant like the paper probably had like a light leak or something on it. And so you're like, ah, crap. So you go,
Gotta go. I got you.
Right.
I got you. Okay.
Most of the time it wasn't a problem.
Okay.
The issue here was that said machine was against a wall
Yeah.
in this little section, this little 200 square foot section.
Yeah.
And the glass part was facing the store. So anybody walking by could, in fact, look and see pictures coming up.
Oh.
This wasn't normally, and the pictures had to be facing out, because the back of the paper didn't matter, right? It's just white, so you can't tell anything.
Oh, no.
In the back of the paper, there's a little code that actually tells you how it was printed.
Yeah.
Like you have like,
I mean, I've seen that on. Yeah.
and that's like level of cyan, magenta, and like
Okay.
the dark and light, whatever how they did it.
Yes.
So in theory, somebody could go to that negative and say, if they were going to do that, if they were going to print it that way and not just copy it, they could say, okay, you set it at this and print it, and it should look identical.
How about that?
So there's your little, that's a little behind the scenes, more than you ever wanted to know about 1 hour photo. So he knew this because he'd been here before. He'd been to the store before, so he knew that the pictures coming through came up through the glass, and so you could see them. So Earl in the cowboy hat said, all right, hey, man, I got 2 rolls. I'm like, hey, that's what you're holding in your hand. I see it. He said, can you get these today? And I'm like, yeah, buddy, I can get them. Because the 1 hour thing is crap. 8 minutes. 8 minutes. I'm telling you right now. It goes through the initial machine when you get
awesome.
the film out or
Yes,
whatever, and it goes
that's
through that
awesome.
one machine. 5 minutes, you can print them in a minute and a half. And then they dry and they come out. 8 minutes, maybe 10, and a roll of film's done.
How about that?
So 1 hour photo. So I said, yeah, buddy. I said like 20 minutes. I can have both rolls. He said, I want doubles. I'm like, that's no big deal. That's just a button. You just push. So he said, yeah. He said, but I got a question. I said, yeah. He said, they'll be in color, right? I'm like, yes.
Cyan and magenta.
And he said they're going to be on glossy. And I'm like, if you want glossy, I can do either.
We could do matte.
Yeah. So
For a slight upcharge.
yeah. So we can do matte or glossy. And he said, glossy's fine. I said, okay. He said, but when they come through here, is everybody going to be able to see them? I'm like, well, I said, that's an interesting question because yes, but there's really nobody in the store. He said, do you have to look at them? I said, I don't have to, but I also don't want to have to print this 10 times if there's a problem. So I have to kind of look at the paper. I said, I don't think there's going to be an issue, but I said, I generally look at the first 3 and then leave it alone. Although we were supposed to go through the whole set. I never did because I just didn't care.
Well, sure.
I don't care. I don't care about your family reunion. I don't care. Look at that. Look,
Other than your grandma.
Hey, Jeannie's drinking the tea again. I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. Put whatever you want in your mouth. I don't care. So anyway, so he said, well, can you not look at them? And I said, hey man, listen, I get it. There's something on here you don't want me to see, and I probably don't want to see it either. I said, but I also don't want to charge you for something if it looks like,
bad. If it looks bad, right.
All right. So we talked for another minute or two, and I said, how about this, man? Like, how about this? I just won't look, whatever. The problem with that is I have to be the one to print the negatives, so I can clearly see what's in every picture. Like
he didn't know that.
No. It's like, buddy, I'm looking at I have to look at the negatives. I don't have a choice.
Right.
So I run these things through. And as you do, as you're a young person working in a store, you act all serious with the customer. The minute they walk out the door, I go get everybody, my buddies that work in the store, say, come on back.
This is terrible.
So we're standing in front of this machine as these pictures are coming out, just waiting on them because we know they're going to be awful.
Oh, no.
And so I'd already seen the negatives, so I knew what was coming.
Was it better or worse than salve in a box?
Salve in a box would have been a blessing.
Oh no! Okay.
So
all right. Oh,
my buddies
Radio Shack. How long has it been defunct?
a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to think about
Well, this was a privately owned one too, so it's even worse.
Oh, they franchised Radio Shack?
Oh yeah, it was even worse.
I did not know that. I bet that would be a little stressful. Okay, anyway, we're digressing you.
So the guy
shack shall never be back.
So the guy, a couple of buddies had seen this guy out in town before, and apparently they said they'd seen him with a few females that were quite attractive. So they got pretty excited about what might be coming through the.
No.
I'd already seen what was coming.
And you were like, no.
No, oh no. I just said, this is awesome. This is awesome. So the pictures start coming up. And like the first couple pictures.
Haviland motor oil.
The first couple
Duragard
pictures
jumper cables.
is old Earl in his cowboy hat, cowboy boots, cowboy hat, and cowboy boots. And
like a rhinestone cowboy.
So the next 37 and a half pictures that come through are just him in different poses in his cowboy hat, cowboy boots, and spurs.
No.
And one of my buddies that worked there said, this is the most disgusting thing I have ever seen.
Oh.
And do you want to know something even funnier? That story is not the grossest story. The rest of them, I can't tell on air. I'll tell you off air.